Hello and welcome to our first panel of the day. Thank you so much for joining us all here. I'd love to welcome our panelists, Culture Vault founder Michelle Gray, Sunroom co-founder Michelle Battersby, digital creator Emily Yang, also known as @PeoplePleaser, it's PPL Pleaser, who's joining us on the screen from the US today. I would also like to welcome founder and CEO of Kick Innovation and founder of 42 Schools in Australia, Louise Nobes. I'd also like to add my reminder that you can ask any questions you'd like via the Slido link that's up on the screen. You have an amazing group of really trailblazing women up on this panel today, so be sure to get your questions in. I think we're going to get straight into it. We've got two Michelles on the panel today, so we're going to have to go with Michelle B and Michelle G. It's not particularly eloquent, but that's where we're going to go. So I'd love to start with you, Michelle B. You co-founded Sunroom, a digital space which allows creators to get paid for their work. How do you think virtual spaces like Sunroom are changing the way we live and work today?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest changes to how we work has been the rise of the passion economy, which really means being able to monetize your individuality. There's an amazing woman over in the US called Lee Jin who invests in a lot of creator economy startups like my own. She's actually credited with coming up with the term creator economy, and she defines this period really as this internet-powered entrepreneurship, and it's like nothing we've ever seen before. And platforms like Instagram and TikTok have definitely accelerated that, and we're in a time where if you are relatable and you resonate with other people, you can build a career off the back of your platform and off the back of your individuality. And that's where platforms like Sunroom come in, because people are now looking to diversify the way they make money. And traditionally, creators have only had brand deals and ad revenue share agreements to rely on, and those can often be unreliable, and they can often strip creators of their authenticity as well. So it's great that there's now a third option for creators in the way of direct audience monetization and platforms, I guess, to contextualize that a little bit, like OnlyFans, Patreon and Sunroom are able to exist. So I personally am loving it.
Yeah, absolutely. Over to you, Louise. What do you think are the driving forces behind this rapid transformation? What's propelling us to live an increasingly digital life?
I saw this question and I was like, there was one thing that's happened in all of our lives that have created us and thrusted us to move into the digital world. I don't know if you remembered it. Do you remember what that was? A little thing called a pandemic really thrusted us to all, even if you weren't ready for it, move into that. And that may have benefited you personally or professionally. I have had amazing experiences personally because of that. I now live completely off the grid. You know, I've been able to manage my life at the 50-50 hybrid world, and I think that that's an amazing experience for myself and my family. But what that also means is we need more skills. We know that the biggest issue we have right now is the access to skills. So just the little school that I started, 42, which is the French software engineering school, we brought it down from France. It's really trying to break down the barriers, because currently if you want a life in STEM or to be a software engineer, it means you have to do pretty well at school. Let's be honest. What is currently the ATAR to get into a software engineering degree? So those things really troubled me. I thought that actually there's going to be a big disparity of who actually gets into this digital life, unless you're going to be that amazing person that builds some tech product from your bedroom. So really 42 was about saying, we believe everyone has great minds. This is actually not about your background. Everyone should be able to learn tech skills. But currently, no, that's not the case. You need to have a great ATAR, and I don't know about you, but my adolescence was shit. I was a little bit of a troublemaker. I really cared about my party life a little bit too much, and maybe I had a great mind, but definitely the school teachers did not embody that or encourage me. So, you know, it means that those that are getting into the STEM careers or the graduate pathways that are on offer are slimmer and slimmer and slimmer. So one thing that 42 recognises is, should education, let's go back to the fundamental belief that education should be free. And it should be accessible to everyone. And we believe that great minds are everywhere, and usually a teacher isn't the right person to teach you. So please look up 42. It is changing the way we believe that everyone should be accessible to the careers of the future. So don't worry. If you're in the audience and go, well, actually year 10 has been a bit of a bummer for me, you do have a life, and that is digital. We have all been thrust into that, and now that I'm on the other side of 40, I can relate a little bit more with my 17-year-old. And I think now it's about pushing the education. We can't just rely on traditional systems. We can't just say that it's not good enough, that 12%. I get quoted, oh, it's 12% of women in STEM, but it's 25%. Well, actually, it's not good enough. At 42, we've only been open for 1 year. We already have 30% women participating in the school. We also recognise, what are the other barriers for women? Childcare. Okay, we'll solve that. How about we pay for your childcare? What about if we look at the things that really matter and how we can get more women into STEM?
It's an amazing initiative. Emily, on the screen there, in your experience as a creator, how has the way we exist digitally as individuals changed over the last few years? For example, does it start with the individual or society, or are humans just doing their best to keep up with technological advancements?
First, hi everyone. Super excited to be here. I wish I could be on the couch physically with you guys. It looks very comfortable. Well, to answer your question, I think it's definitely a little bit of both. You know, if you observe how we are spending our time as a society from even in comparison to 10 to 15 years ago, it used to be that we would, sort of live our lives. And then when we take a break, it's going on the internet or sitting in front of a screen. And then I think, some time has passed, and without us even knowing, now it's completely inverted, where taking a break for us means going outside and, getting a drink or taking a walk or something. And then, but for the majority of our times, whether we're working or even for leisure, we're spending time in the digital world. And so that part, I think, would be sort of the individual as well as society catching up with the digital space. But specifically, like previously mentioned, I think COVID really sort of rapidly accelerated our relationship with the digital space. I definitely noticed it with myself as well, where I think it was during COVID where I couldn't go outside as much. I realized sort of the value of something like a metaverse or even a digital identity. And, with obviously the rise of social media as well as, Web3 technology and blockchain and also NFTs, we are sort of seeing this shift where we also see ourselves represented by a digital avatar. In fact, I actually have the Vogue cover that I did for the April issue. And that's pretty much what it's about, is just like, it's the first sort of cover, I think, that features an illustrated sort of model instead of a real one. And the whole sort of idea or that what I'm telling behind the story of this cover is sort of the shift in paradigm or the shift in mentality of how we view ourselves. You're already seeing this with how people identify themselves online, and some people, really value their digital identity as opposed to their real one. And so I think it's not to say that we're just going to forever migrate onto a digital world, but as we're catching up with technology, there's definitely a noticeable change in the way we behave and identify ourselves. And we should take advantage of that and put it to good use.
What an amazing space for us to be able to take advantage of. Michelle G, what about making money online, including for artists via things like NFTs? What sort of changes are we seeing in this space?
Yeah, well, I think, first of all, the elephant in the room, as Edwina mentioned, crypto has crashed. So I think a lot of people, the first thing they're asking me, what's that done to the NFT market, and what has that done to artists' ability to make money? And I think that we just have to strip it back and look at blockchain as a way for creators to have sovereignty and provenance over their work. And I think what Michelle B is doing with Sunroom in a Web 2 space is really incredible as well. What we're trying both to do, I think, at Culture Vault, which is an NFT curated platform, and I know you're trying to do with Sunroom, is we're trying to take back the ownership of creators' work and allow them to have sovereignty and some kind of agency around how they make money. So, with Instagram or Facebook, creators will provide content, but guess who owns that content? Mark Zuckerberg. Guess how you make money? You don't, unless it's a brand partnership. With NFTs, you work for crypto. At Instagram, you work for likes. So it's just a different way of seeing that. I think that now that crypto has crashed, we're seeing a lot of artists who have a little bit more interest in the space versus just a quick cash grab. Obviously, the pricing bubble has burst, so we're not seeing all those crazy $100,000 for pixel cats. But I think it's a really exciting time because it's weeding out sort of all the mass and all the morass of people that were just trying to do a quick cash grab. And so, yeah, like I said, I think that it's a really good opportunity for artists if they're interested in utilising blockchain to monetize their work.
I've got a question now for both Michelle B and Emily as well. How can we break down stigmas that come with making money on social media? Michelle, would you like to kick us off?
Yeah, it's such an interesting time to be talking about stigmas in this space. I can't see the audience, so I can't see if the person I might be about to bring up is out there. But I'm sure many of you might have seen what recently happened on Instagram with a bachelor couple making comments about how creators monetize what they're doing or utilize their fame. And it's really sad to me that there's still shame associated with leveraging your community, your content, your craft. And stigmas come about because of societal beliefs. And I think we tend to often go with the masses because we want to fit in. But there's so much opportunity to be unlocked and progress to be made if we actually challenge our long-standing beliefs. This era is here. People are able to make money online. As I said before, there's not a one-size-fits-all approach. And I don't think there are many other industries that have been exploited so much where we've just expected to consume for free or for a gift. A gift isn't going to pay your rent. Would love it if it did. So I think, we need to not be perpetrating those stigmas ourselves, and we really need to be applauding the people who are putting a price on what they do. So if you do love a creator and you see them guiding you to their sunroom or wherever else they're monetizing what they do, go and, support them in that. And they're setting a really good example. There's a gender pay gap that exists for creators. Most creators out there are women. Let's back them in their decisions to monetize.
And do you see that as a barrier for people joining things like Sunroom or any other?
That is a great question. This is actually one of the biggest challenges that we're facing right now with Sunroom. It's creators' willingness and confidence in sharing their Sunroom link and actually promoting what they're doing on Sunroom to their audience on Instagram. And I think the stigma holds them back, and that sucks. And we often wonder if we're coming up against it more because we focus on women and non-binary creators, and it's proven that women often won't ask for the pay rise, they won't ask for the promotion, they struggle valuing what it is that they do. So we're trying to build a lot into the product right now to help creators build confidence in that space and kind of reinforce the value of promoting what they do and driving people to Sunroom.
And Emily, what about you? How can we be breaking down these stigmas that surround people making money online?
I couldn't agree more with just overall encouragement and support, and I think that an interesting way to think about it is, so I'm a creator, right? And, my main outlet is digital, and the goods that I sell are digital. So if I'm posting a link online, for people to buy my work, it's kind of like if you go to a farmer's market and then if you saw me and I had a stand there and I was selling, some kind of craft but nobody's going to sort of shame me for having a stand at the farmer's market, right? So why would you shame somebody who's trying to sell something in the digital space? And I think that it all kind of started because, sort of in that type of social media, for example, or platform Instagram and YouTube, it originally started as, somewhat permissionless, and it's also free. So people have gotten used to consuming this content for free. And then but then as you grow sort of to have an audience and platform, then of course, like you said, you need to pay rent and support yourself. You can't just keep creating content without a means to make a living, right? And so I think it's all comes down to education and I like to just always encourage people to think about things in the real world as well. You don't shame a TV for having a commercial about some kind of product, just like you don't shame somebody selling something at farmers market. So why, when you see somebody doing it online or on a platform, then you're shaming them just because historically you're used to getting this content for free?
Louise, what sort of skills should young people be arming themselves with to work and earn in digital spaces?
It's a really great question, but I'm going to throw it another challenge. Is not only are we saying that young people now need to look to the digital economy and arm themselves in tech skills, there's something else that we're just going to throw out, and I'm sure there's lots of young people in the room. So not only do you need to go and build your tech skills, but we're also going to ask you to do something which is called the soft skills. So we're going to do both. We're going to make it really complicated for you, but I'm going to give you a really great piece of advice, which if it's mainly women in the room, I hope that you're going to walk away going, really the future is women. We kind of have a little saying at 42, it's the super skills of the future. So that's tech and soft equals, the super skills. What do we think women have in abundance? Is soft skills. Let's actually embrace the things that us as women, it's more innate in us to communicate, to be interpersonal, to be empathetic. So we really, I think this is our moment to shine, because traditionally tech, when it was only required the one tech person in the one company, and we don't mind if you're in the back room and you can make it smell and that's all fine. Now tech is everywhere. It's in the leadership roles. It's from the CEO right down to admin. And I think this is our time to really embrace that soft skills is where women, we own our space and we can move into the tech space more fluidly. I can only give an example that the women coming through 42, no word of a lie, by about month 4 of your software engineering degree, you've got 3 job offers. And time again, when companies are hiring from us, they are saying that it is the women that are transforming the spaces, because you think differently, you can bring those ability just to really understand the environment. So I think hold on to that and don't be afraid to sell your soft skill, because that is the super skill of the future.
What a brilliant answer. I was expecting something like coding or something like that, soft skills. And Emily, in your experience, how are platforms like Instagram, YouTube and TikTok introducing young people to jobs that didn't exist just a few years ago?
Well, I think the creator economy is a really, really good example. And, it's sort of opened up this avenue for people to, go direct to consumer. And I think that's obviously really powerful because, historically, let's say people are making, video content about their lives now, such as vlogging. And that's obviously a very different path from making, for example, like an actual TV show or, high quality production reality show, right? But some audience could enjoy even some vlogs over some reality shows. And, obviously the budget and process of creation for that looks very different. And so it's basically made it very easy for independent creators to carve a path for themselves, whether they're trying to become a makeup artist or sort of hairstyle. You see all kinds of these different ideas and pathways on various platforms, and I think the graduation from that from like Instagram and TikTok to for example Web3 platforms is just sort of speeding up the efficiency of the direct to consumer model, where you can via smart contracts get paid a lot quicker and also generate on-chain royalties for the creations that you make, for example, and then not just getting paid in likes or upvotes and then waiting for brand deals to come to you. And I think that's super powerful and cool.
That's an incredibly wonderful space to be working in. Now, looking into the future a little bit now, Louise, what's your prediction for how we'll live and work digitally in 5 years from now?
Oh, no. Well, I can only say from myself personally, I think that's a really complicated. How in 5 years?
5 years
from now, I think it's going to be. We're never going to go back to the way we were before. There is, I think it's more than just looking at it from a technical lens. Let's look at it from an economy lens or work-life lens. We should be moving into cities for the collaboration, for why, when you were going to work before, you were in the hustle and bustle and it was headaches in the morning, headaches out. No, we don't need to live like that anymore. For myself, I sold everything up, our 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom house, and I forced our kids to live in a tiny little caravan because I wanted to do the grand designs. Who doesn't want to do the grand design? And we moved an hour and a half out of the city and on 100 acres and built an off-the-grid home all by ourselves, and we YouTubed the whole lot. So that is the future. And I can look at it from my personal, but we will never go back. We will not go back to what it was before. Why would we? Less time with our families, all the time in commute. So I think what we need to be, though, shifting is why do we come into cities? It's about our collaboration. It's where we come and connect. It's where we can create things together. If it's just to go and sit at a desk, that is not the future. So in 5 years' time, I do not want us to be reverting back to those old habits and behaviours. We should all be doing grand designs, and we should be able to tap into our workplace from wherever we are. And then that means that young people, you guys are the future. You are the change makers. You will help us older people adjust to the habits that, a little bit more connected with yourself and your spirit.
And that collaboration and that water cooler chat that you hear so much about, how are you, integrating that into a digital workforce now?
Myself,
yeah,
as a digital workforce, how we're doing. Well, look, we have a school with a Lego room and a VR room, and so it's not a water cooler, it's the Lego room. All of the companies come past, and it's how if you can't build a house, you're not recruiting one of our students. So I think it's about really engaging, and it is coming to what is really important in life. There's so much on offer now. We have the big disparity. We need to be pushing ourselves forward to say everyone should learn how to, if they want to be a software engineer, for free. It's not hard to build tech skills. It's hard to build the community and the lifestyle we want around it. So I think the water cooler or a Lego house or whatever it is has its place, and it should be respected.
Definitely. Emily, gaming and the metaverse are hot topics for brands. How can businesses meaningfully engage with using gaming platforms to build their audience?
I think touching on what I previously said about how COVID was a personal exploration journey for me and, opened up my eyes about the value of the digital space, brands can really, take advantage of that and, sort of build their brands within the digital space as well. What this means is, right now, if you have a storefront or even if you have a pop-up at a museum or, a cool experiential space in real life, then you're sort of limiting your audience to people who are more local. And so one of the upsides or advantages of doing that in the digital space is you're opening up your sort of reach to a way more international one. And unfortunately, I think our technology right now isn't sort of advanced enough to where we have seen metaverse spaces be totally super immersive or convincing, but it's only a matter of time that we're going to get there. But I do think that it is worth exploring, especially as a brand, to see how your identity or your products are presented within the digital space, because you're definitely going to see a surge of interest and movement of activity and user engagement towards that within the future.
Michelle B., women in particular have been left out of conversations around autonomy for so long. How are spaces like Sunroom changing the way women have access to financial independence?
Yeah, financial independence is what we live and breathe at Sunroom, and ultimately that's what we're trying to achieve. We're trying to make our women and non-binary creators rich, or help them get rich, or find that freedom. I think that tech companies usually come out of a problem, a solution to a problem. And what we'd heard is that creators wanted more diverse ways to make money. So as I was saying before, it's traditionally been these brand deals. But I think there's often an assumption that if you have a large following, you are making money off brand deals. But I spoke to a creator last week with 1 million followers on TikTok who's never made $1 off her audience because she doesn't want to do brand deals. So that's where platforms like Sunroom can really unlock more opportunity. But I think the three fundamental things Sunroom is solving is that it creates a reliable source of income. It's a subscription model, so creators can have a little bit more awareness and I guess predictability around their income, and they're also able to earn passively. The second thing it solves is around that authenticity piece. They're not having to perform to attract a brand deal or stick within a brand's guidelines. They're able to actually be themselves and connect with their audience that adore them. But the last really cool thing we're starting to see with Sunroom is it's accessible for so many creators who often aren't in the eyesight of brands. So some of the biggest earners on Sunroom are actually creators from Australia that I had never heard of. And I've worked with talent in Australia for the past 5 years, and I thought I had my finger on the pulse. And then when we launched, all these names come through and I'm like, who the fuck is that? They've got so many subscribers, what is going on? And it's amazing because there are so many people that have never had the opportunity or they've been overlooked. And for anyone sitting in the room who works in marketing and brand, we so often use the same people, and I've done it. I've run so many campaigns before with the same kinds of people. And I think we really need to be looking, for different pockets and picking new people and helping up and coming creators. And in my head, it's so stupid, but that ad, if you've got a door, you've got a gym. Sunroom, it's if you've got an audience, you can make money off it on Sunroom. So it's just an accessible way for people to make money, and that unlocks, financial independence.
A question for the whole panel, but I might start with you, Michelle G. Shifting gears slightly, do you think we need a regulatory body for tech?
For sure. I think we were talking about this in the green room. I think all ideologies are wonderful in theory. And I love the concept of decentralization. I think that many of us here today aren't particularly happy with the top-down governance and how that's working for us. But I also think that the ideology of bottom-up governance can also come with a lot of issues as well. And the whole, for many of you who are not familiar with the blockchain, it is this idea of a decentralized space. At the moment, I'm sure many of us bank with NAB or Commonwealth, but the concept of cryptocurrency is so that it's a fully decentralized currency. I won't go into boring you to tears about exactly what that is, but you can look it up later. But yeah, so in terms of regulation, I think a lot of us have seen what's happened with, a lot of lack of regulation, digital assets getting stolen, a lot of fraud. It's not to say that when, first banking systems or even e-com first came into play that we didn't see these types of issues. And I think that it really needs to be understood that blockchain, NFTs, cryptocurrency is very much in the infancy of its development. So it definitely has problems. I think it's silly to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'm very excited about what some incredibly intelligent people are going to do to mitigate these problems. But back to your question about regulation, yes, I think we need regulation within reason. I think that we've seen regulation stifle creativity before, and that can be a big problem. And we can see that things that are unregulated, unfortunately, can go to bad actors in the space and give certain tech a bad name.
Michelle B, what about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty aligned with what you've just said. I think from my perspective as well, sometimes regulation as a small business owner with a startup that's in maybe year 2, it can feel a little bit scary, and you definitely don't want it to hurt innovation and disruption. And this might be a bit of a rogue answer, but I would really like to see regulation that's targeted a bit more at big tech, because I don't think people realise that so many small tech startups are also at the mercy of big tech. I've got an app on the App Store. There are pros and cons that come with that. Apple give you amazing distribution, but they also take 30% of your revenue. So Apple takes 30% of all revenue on the App Store. It's the greatest business model of all time, and you can't get around it. And sometimes they have handshake deals with companies like, I won't name names, but it's the one you all listen to music to on your iPhone. Rhymes with Opify, and like they won't explain why. And I'm like, what about us? And the same with Meta. Like right now, maybe, I don't know, I'm shadow banned on Instagram for talking about this. So thanks. If anyone's connected to Mark, help me. But like Sunroom's paid acquisition is never going to be a channel that Sunroom can utilize, because Meta have banned our ad account because we give space to creators who are censored and silenced on Instagram, and they don't like that. So they've silenced us, and there's nothing that we can do. So yeah, help.
I heard murmurs of affirmation from that end of the couch. Louise, you also agree with these two women?
Absolutely. I don't have anything much more to add, but I think it's really interesting that, you know, when we require regulation, it's always favouring a few. So we really just have to look at that a little bit more and stage it. And maybe, you know, it's really sometimes hard to start up and, you know, there's regulations everywhere, but not sometimes at the right spots. We need to be more sensitive. All I can come back to is when we have more women in leadership, this will get sorted. You know, we at 42, we only have, maybe it was a little bit done by purpose, we're the only tech school in the country run by all women. So when we're around the table and making some decisions, boy, that's easy. So I do think, you know, this comes back to a systemic problem of who are the decision makers, who is it benefiting, and the more we can just push women up into leadership roles, you know, we can start to tackle it a bit more. That might be the bottom up that we need. Yeah, the middle.
And Emily, what about for creators as well? Is greater regulation needed in that space?
Yeah, I think both of the Michelles and Louise really hit the nail on the head there. But really the only thing I have to add is just, I think, you know, Michelle G said really well that something like Web3, which is totally decentralized, is still in its infancy. And so, of course, it's not perfect and there's a lot of problems. But even like Michelle B said, in a regulated world, you also have your own set of problems and corruptions, right? I think I can point out from a creator's point of view, or, you know, specifically from the Web3 space, you know, if people are familiar with DAOs, which stands for a decentralized autonomous organization, which is sort of like this idealized vision of what the future of companies could be, you know, utilizing blockchain technology. But of course, it's not there yet. And, you know, I've been quite I've participated a lot in DAOs so far. And one of the main observations, I think, is that as much as there's upside to being completely decentralized, it's also very hard it's kind of like herding cats, or, you know, trying to get a group of people to be aligned on something when there's no clear leadership, right? And then another set of problems you can see when that happens is the problem of tragedy of the commons, where there's nobody to come and say that whether you can take this or cannot take this. And so I think some regulation is definitely useful here. I don't really know what it is, and, you know, I'm not sort of a politician or anything myself, but I definitely think that, you know, just looking at both models, the centralized version and decentralized versions, there's improvements that we can make. It's all about the intention of the people behind making these regulations. And if you have bad actors, you know, they're either going to scam without regulations, or they're going to use regulations to their own advantage, right? So I think comes back to education. We all need to be good people and well-intentioned. And I think women are really good at that, actually. So like Louise said, I think it would actually really help if there are a lot more women in leadership positions and making these kinds of decisions.
We've got some time now for some questions from the audience. The first one was asked of Louise. Do you have any advice for women when we have been traditionally or culturally discouraged from promoting ourselves and our soft skills?
And you're asking a woman that question? Look, I think that is a really complicated question to ask. So how do we really, you've just got to step into your power. As women, we need to really look at ways and what's passionate. What are you really passionate about and how are you going to make it happen? And find the people around you that believe in you. I always have this saying that I was one of those people that I've got an idea, oh my gosh, I was probably too grandiose about it. So then I get told, oh, she's just crazy. She's a crazy passion lady. So I think that there's a real stigma that constantly goes that, if we're too assertive, we're aggressive. If we're too caring, well, she's not clever. So I think the more we can do is just align ourselves with people that are the right people. And we have a long way to go. So keep believing in yourself. You must believe in yourself. And if you're struggling to believe in yourself, find people that do. And just own your truth. We are living in a world where you are our future. Young people are our future, and it will get a bit better. But as for myself growing up, I don't even want to tell you. I mean, I couldn't even get a job share role as a social worker with a baby. So, there's complexities even in the caring space. So I think we've got a long way to go, but we are making some inroad.
Another question from the audience. I think I'll give this one to Michelle B. Opportunity is important, but the detached nature of the digital world can be detrimental to real-world mental health. Is that a part of education for the next generation?
These are good questions.
Definitely. I think that we are all playing our lives out online now, and having a digital presence can actually help with your career, depending on where you want to go. But sure, there are definite, issues. I mean, we all know social networks aren't great, right? What am I trying to say? They're not good for us. I think we just need to be managing ourselves and how we use social networks, and we need to be aware of the impact that they have on us. We need to be considered in how we engage with them, who we follow, interact with. And I think mental health in general is something that it's something we talk about so often now, and wellness, and I think the pandemic accelerated that. I feel like Gen Z in particular are so much more aware of their feelings and emotions. They're also so much more digitally connected, but I think probably it's the education system that should be keeping up with that and actually teaching children and arming young people with the tools and resources they need to be able to still live, great lives. Even with Sunroom, one thing we're considering building is a snooze button for our creators, where they'll be able to put their accounts on hold and subscriptions would pause for their members, so people wouldn't be charged while they're on hold, so they could take breaks and go on holidays and have time to re-energize and things like that. So I think companies as well need to be considerate of this and use their product, for the greater good, and care about the people that use their products as well.
Amazing.
We got the answer in the end.
We did. Now that's just about all we've got time for today, ladies. Thank you so much for everyone who sent in their questions. A massive round of applause, please, for our panel from today.